everyone, and welcome to Building Basics. My name is Alex, and today we're building this. This is a small keychain measuring tape. We're gonna create the model, add some textures, and then do a fun animation at the end. One thing to note, if you're new to Blender, go check out my beginner's guide to Blender, so you have a better idea of the interface, of the buttons, and of the 3D viewport, and some of the buttons I use. Alright, let's jump in and start building the model. So first thing we want to do is hit Shift A, Mesh, and create a cylinder. Let's go tab into edit mode, and we can rotate 90 degrees. What we want to do is cut this cylinder in half, and we're going to add a mirror modifier. So Control R, click on the geo, right click to cancel that so it goes right in the middle. Let's hit 3, and if you hit Alt Z, you can do X-ray vision just to see through your model, and you can select all those faces, X, and delete the face. Tab back into to object mode, Alt Z, so you can see, so you don't see through the model. And now what we have is half a cylinder. Let's go ahead and go to our modifiers property, and we're going to add a mirror modifier. Awesome. Let's jump back in here, and we're going to go tab back into edit mode so we can affect the overall shape with more detail. So I'm going to hit 3, which is our faces, and let's bring this in. What I'm looking at is how thick this is, and this is about right. Next, what we want to do is keep the circle shape, because that's where the logo goes here. So we already have the shape in the model, we want to keep that. We can then go to the outside and just pull those faces down. What we want to do is, with this face selected, I'm going to hit I, and I'm going to insert some faces. Perfect. I can hit I again, and we'll leave it like that for now. We can always adjust it after. And actually, let's do that now. So there's a black area around, and then there's this skinny yellow. There we go. There's a skinny yellow portion around it, and then there's the sticker aspect. It actually goes in over here at the yellow portion, and so what I can do is already start adding in those rings just to define it. And so here's going to be that black portion, the yellow portion, and then this area could be the sticker. So with that selected, let's hit E to extrude. We can go in a little bit. Shift to slow down that movement. And I like that. It's not a big indent there. I can hit I again and just create a couple more loops for details later. I one more time. And let's leave it there. Perfect for now. Awesome. So let's come back here and worry about the bottom of the shape. So I think what's easiest is if we select just parts of the model, the base, and we're just going to drag it down. Deselect these ones by accident. There we go. I'm going to just pull those down, just like that. Let's go to our scale tool, and I'm going to scale it down, hit 0, tab back out. And there's pretty much, in a short amount of time, the idea of this measuring tape. Awesome, let's tab back in to edit mode. Still got our bottom faces selected. I'm just going to pull those up a little bit. I thought it was a bit too low. That's better. Awesome. So let's come on over here. To me, this is the front, this is the back. I'm going to hit Control R, coming over here and just insert a row. Select that edge, just bring it up a little bit and pull it in a little bit. And it's just creating that indent that I see in the model. That might be a little much, so I'm going to pull that back out a little. Perfect. Let's come to this side, same thing, Control R. And this is nice. I'm going to select this edge and pull it up a little bit. Somewhere in here I think is nice. Let's pull it in a little bit, and that's cool. This back one might be a little too far. I'm going to pull that back out. And now let's take a look at the base. So once it goes in, they both sides just go straight down. So I'm going to make sure it's that way on this model. I'm going to go to the bottom, select this edge, and up here, what you can do on default, you're in increment. So this is snap to. These are very useful. And the two I use the most is the increment, which is just following the grid, the unit, and the vertex. So let's switch to vertex. Perfect. And I'm going to pull this edge out. And now with it out, I'm going to come back in. And as I slide after, I'm going to hit Control and then go up to this vertex, and it's going to snap to that distance. Let's do the same over here. I'm just going to pull it out, no big deal. Come back, Control, and just point to the vertex that I want to snap to. Tab back out, just get a sense of the tape. And I think it's looking pretty good. Tab back in. So let's use our knife tool. I'm going to hit K, coming over here on this vertex, click it, and then I'm just going to go down here, skip this other vertex and just kind of go through the middle of this area and connect over here, spacebar, and it's going to commit it. And I want to not just be a straight line, I'm going to add a little bit of a curve. So I'm going to hit 1 to select vertices, select the vertex that I want, and if you hit G twice, you can actually follow the direction of those edges. So here we go, hit G and follow that, and all of a sudden I built a little bit of an arc which matches the model a little better. Let's come up here, let's do the same thing. It's just going past the middle a little bit. So I'm going to hit K again, this vertex to this vertex, spacebar, perfect. I'm going to hit K one more time, this vertex, somewhere in the middle, spacebar to commit. I'm going to select that vertex, same idea, G twice, 1, 2, and pull it down. Just having a look at the model one more time. Let's do the button area right now. And so we'll do that, and then we'll do the bottom where this comes out of, and then we can start adding some color. So let's tab back into edit mode, 3 into our faces, Control R, so I can add a row, and that's nice. And I'm going to select this face, this one, and this one, and this one. All right, perfect. And what we're going to do is hit E. Before we do that though, you can see there's an option on our mirror modifier, clipping. If I don't have this on, you'll see what happens. If I hit E, you can see there's this row of faces that we don't want. The model doesn't have it, we don't want it. So let's undo it. And now let's turn clipping on. Same idea, E to extrude in, and that's gone. So clipping, when it's touching the mirror, the two vertices act like one, and it goes down together. So clipping is important, turn that on, and you won't have any issues. It seems like there's one more track, so I'm gonna hit Control R one more time, right click to cancel that, so it's right in the middle, back to 3 to our faces, and just select these faces one more time. E to extrude in a bit more, and there is our detail. Tab to come out, tab back in. I'm going to keep this model very simple. I'm going to select these bottom faces, and let's hit E to extrude, and we're just coming down a little bit, and that's it. Okay, so there's our feet for the measuring tape. Now let's go into here and add the gap. So tab back in, and now we're going to work on the opening for the tape to come out of. So Control R, come down to about here, Control R one more time, and I'm going to hit 3, select these 3 faces right here, hit I, and I'm just going to insert a row of keys, and I might just bring in, go to 2, grab this edge, just bring it in a little bit. Awesome. So we have this one issue here. I'm not too worried about that yet. I'll fix it in a second. Next, I'm going to go back to 3 to my faces and select these 3 faces, hit E to extrude in, something like that. And now we need to resolve this. And so how I would do that is just select this face and this face. Come on, X, delete the faces. Go to 1 to vertices and just select these vertices that have the gap. And all you have to do, because clipping is on, all you have to do is pull them into the model, and now you see they're stuck there, even if I pull them back out afterwards. So that addressed that. There's the opening. I think the opening's a little wide, so I'm just gonna adjust it now. 3 to grab this one face. And let's grab our grab tool. That's a little better. Okay. So I think this model itself for this portion is done. For the button's really easy. What we have is basically just a cube. Shift A, mesh, cube. Scale it in a little bit. Bring it into position, scale it down. I'm not too worried about being too precious with that. Scale it in more. Rotate it. Come on, rotate it. And just get it into position generally. There's going to be a little bit of crashing. I don't mind crashing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's add just a little bit of detail to this. I'm going to hit Control R, drop a row, right click to be in the middle. I'm going to come down here and increase the cuts. And now what I'm going to do is actually just pull them down a little bit, just add a little bit of interest to this portion of the model. Perfect. Awesome. Let's smooth this model out. So I'm going to go to Modifier and Subdivision Surface. Really smooths it out. So we're just going to have to add a little more definition on the corners to retain its shape better. So we're going to go to Bevel, and we're going to take this bevel and just bring it in front of this one, and all of a sudden you can see that it looks pretty cool, and we didn't do much. I'm going to right click on the model, Shade Smooth, and that's done. It doesn't need much more detail, even though there's more detail on the model itself in real life. I'm just not interested in that for this project. Let's come down here and worry about the tape. The tape's a cool thing, I think, on this particular build, because what we're going to do is build it really big, actually. And then we're going to use a Boolean modifier to hide it. Yeah, it can still come out of the tape. So I'll show you how we do that. So let's go Shift A, and we're going to add a cube. Boop. Tab into the cube and start scaling it down. Really flatten it, really. Let's make it long. Let's put it into the hole, make sure it's all good there. A little bit more, awesome. Great, and we're gonna just widen it out. Perfect, I think that looks good. And now we're gonna worry about the length. So here we go, I'm just gonna scale it. And I think overall this might be somewhat of a nice length here. I'm going to add a little bit of a curve down. Control R, down the middle. Perfect. Increase the segments a little bit. Awesome. And let's go Alt Z so I can see right to the end. Let's go to the front view. Once you're in edit mode, you can't use F to frame anymore. You have to use the period numpad. So let's select this, just pull it down a little bit. Select these guys, pull it down a little bit. And that's our shape. All right, so now what we need to do is add the ending part. And then our model's done. We're going to smooth areas out and then move on to the coloring, add a bit of texture, and then some animation. I'm going to hit Shift A, and let's create another cube. And let's just bring it over into position, scale it down some more, and we're just flattening things out. Let's widen it out. Let's pull it out over here. Tab into edit mode. I'm going to hit Control R and place a row right there. 3 to get faces, go to the bottom, and E to extrude. Something like that I think looks good. Awesome, I'm going to hit S just to taper that in. Coming over here, pull it out, a little longer, something like that. S on this axis, just to taper that as well. Okay, the model has a couple more aspects, and then we're done. It has a little bit of a groove, so we're going to add that, and then it has the 2 bolts that just go through the hook and the tape to keep it all together. What we're going to do is hit Control R, add a cut, and let's increase the segments by 1. Awesome. With those selected still, what I'm going to do, a little bevel, but it's just to add a definition, and you'll see why in a second. Control B, something like that. And what I'm going to do is hit 3 and just pull this face up. Nice and simple. That's that the hook aspect of it. The model also has a little hole in there, so we might do that. That actually might be nice for a little extra detail. Let's cut that in there. Perfect. And 3 to get our face. Select this face, X, delete face. Go to the other side, X, delete face. And now we have a little hole. Let's go to 2 for edges. Select these 2 edges and hit F for fill. Go over here, this edge and this edge, F. This edge, go like this, F, and come on, F, there we go. And I just had a peek at the model and it actually goes down here as well. So I'm going to grab these vertices and just pull them down a little bit. These 2 as well. Pull them down a little bit as well. And these 2 here as well. Boop. Awesome. Let's add the 2 bolts in here. Very simple. Shift A, cylinder. Super simple. Scale that down. Put it into position. Perfect. Let us do a subdivision surface modifier. And let's also do a bevel. We're going to switch the locations again. Awesome. That's 1, Shift D, and here's 2. Awesome. So here we have our model. Next, we're going to want to smooth this out a little bit. But before we do, I'm going to add some color to it first, just to see how things are going. Then we can smooth it out a little better. So let's go over here. Let's just get our shading area ready. And let's go to our materials properties. And we're going to say new. Awesome. Let's get our black going. And this is a rubber material, so it's less shiny, less reflective. And then the sticker really is the most reflective aspect. And then the plastic is second here. So we have 3 materials, and then actually 4 with the metal and 5. All right, here we go. So the next thing we want to do, so let's go in and identify the yellow portions of the model. Tab into edit mode. And what you can do is just select this first face, hit Control plus on your numpad, and it grows the selection. So already that's an easy way to select things. And let's add another material, new yellow. Awesome. Let's change things up, and we're going to assign. Perfect. So it's not done. Let's go over here to that faces that we created. It goes all the way across, and I'm still holding shift. Shift just adds all the different faces. It just adds more that you want to add. And then these 2 that we made, and I think we're good. So we can come in over here and assign. Tab out. And already, just with the color, you really start getting a really nice shape or a really nice feel to the model. Let's select that model. We can just now pick from the drop-down menus of the materials we've created. So let's click into the model, and now I can select these faces. Perfect. Select black, assign. Okie dokie. I think we're getting somewhere nicely. Again, the middle portion is going to have a sticker. We'll do that after. Let's just, for now, yellow and black, even though that's going to change, just so we can see that better. Let's select these face, and what I'm going to do here is go to vertices with 1, select all these verts, and I'm going to, I have a hotkey, and I use this a lot, at center. And what that is it just grabs all those vertices and finds the middle. So where that is on mesh and merge. Come on, merge and at center. Perfect. And if you like any of these tools that you're using or other tools that you know of, you can add them to your own custom Q button. And so the way you do that is you can find any tool you like, and if you right click on it, you can add 2 shortcuts. And so you can see I only have 2 here, but if I tab out, I get other ones. So the tools are specific to the mode you're in. Awesome, let's tab back in. So I'm gonna select everything, and then we're gonna create a new material that we can apply our texture to. So we can go over here, select these faces, Control plus just to grow that selection. Coming over here to the plus, and we're gonna say new, and let's just keep things simple. Perfect. So now we can go to our shading workspace. What we're gonna do is hit Shift A, texture, and image texture, open, and find whatever image you want. Awesome, I'm just gonna pick the logo for this series, Building Basics, and hook that up. I didn't assign it, so let's go back over here, layout, and I'm gonna assign that texture, that material, which has a texture, to those faces. So let's go back to our shading workspace. And now what I can do is go over here and change this to UV editor. And I work with a pen. And for some reason, I haven't figured this out yet. The buttons within that specific window, the UV editor, for navigating in the viewport, are just different. So you'll see me, I'm a little slower in here for that reason. I'm not sure why. But anyways, I can hit A and just move these up over here. And you can see that even though the faces in here are a circle, over here they're skewed, and I don't like that. So what we can do is come on over here, 3 on our numpad, and what we can do is go over here, go to UVs, and project from view. And all we have to do is scale that up a little bit, G, and just find the center. Let's go back to our layout, and yeah, I think that looks good. And it's the same on this side. On this side, because it's mirrored, you can see the image is inverted. You can adjust that after once you apply the mirror modifier. You can just apply a new texture, flip the texture, and then you're good to go, or add something else. Okie dokie. So let's just affect the reflectivity of these 3 materials, and then we'll do the tape here, add the metal, and then we're done with the texturing of this model. So for the black material, it's a little rougher. So what that means is the less rough it is in these options, the more reflective. The more value you give, the less reflective. So I like that. The yellow is going to be a little more reflective than just default. And then the sticker is the most reflective. Okie dokie. Let's do the texture over here. And I've already created a texture. So what I'm going to do is tab into edit mode, 7 on your numpad, 3 to just make sure you have the faces selected. I'm just going to select the faces. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come on over here, and I'm going to hit this plus sign, and it's going to be a new texture. Okay, let's come on over here to shading one more time, and same thing we did before, Shift A, texture, add a image texture. Okie dokie, let's hook that up. Perfect. And now we're going to go into edit mode. And now what we just got to do is, like before, position it in such a way that it fits this tape texture that I have. What I'm going to do is just go to 7, UV, and project from view. Perfect. I can see that it needs to just rotate over here 90 degrees, and now I can start scaling it. And all I'm doing is scaling right to where it kind of ends right there. And let's scale the length of it now. Just moved it too much. All right, that looks pretty good, guys. Awesome, let's just add a shiny material to this one. and then we're done. So plus, new, and let's give this a very reflective shine. Oh, and I didn't assign it. Select A and assign, perfect. Awesome. Let's also now go through the model and add a subdivision surface modifier just to pretty things up a little bit. And then we can get to just adding a simple HDRI lighting setup, and then we'll animate something together. All right, so this model, let's go ahead, go to our modifiers property and subdivision surface modifier, and also our bevel. Remember to have the right orientation here. I think that looks pretty cool. Shade smooth. That model's done. Perfect. Cool. So let's go to our main model and add a subdivision surface modifier, smooth things out. I'm not going to add a bevel modifier because I want more control, and I'll do the beveling myself. So we have the model. Let's minimize the mirror modifier, come on over and do subdivision surface, and it smooths things out. You can see that I forgot to make that portion yellow, so I'll do that. It also looks like we have an incident here that is wrong. So let's find out what that is. And it's when I created this opening over here that a couple vertices were created there. And if we zoom in on this, we're just getting some funkiness. So I think the easiest thing to do is select them with vertices, and let's put them to 1 point. Awesome, so that takes care of that. Let's come on over here and let's just take care of this texture face, and we're going to select the face over here, back to materials, make sure it's yellow. That fixes that. And let's add a bevel over here to the exterior. So what I did is hit Shift, Alt, and touched the edges. Come on. And then that just grabs the row. And I'm just going to do it to the whole exterior portion of the model. Perfect. I'm just going to go around and basically anywhere from the outside, I'm just going to add that modifier. Same with at the back. Let's do it at the back as well. Awesome. And we'll do it on this side as well. And actually, let's do it on the insides as well. So we'll select these, and we'll do it there as well. Okie dokie. So with everything I want selected, I'm going to hit Control B. And we're just adding the bevel. Perfect. Let's go in and define the shape a little better here. Tab in again. And same thing, I'm going to add a bevel. So select the edge. And if you don't want to see through your model, again, that's just Alt Z. I'm going to select the edge, select another one while holding Alt, Shift Alt, and click, and it selects everything. Let's go and do the same for the inside. And now we're going to do a Control B to add the bevel. Come on. Where are you? There you go. And I'm going to hit Shift now that I found it, just to hold it, to slow things down. And I like that. Tab to get out. And you can see just adding that definition really defines it nicely. Cool, so it's looking pretty good. We're going to add a little bit of definition on the inside here. And then the model's ready. Let's also just select it, right click, shade smooth. Just help things out a little bit. So let's come in here, tab, and just like we did before, find the edges, add a bevel, control the bevel, and then you're good to go. So 2 to have your edges. I'm gonna hit Alt Z so I can see through the model a little better. And let's see here. Select this edge, this one. Perfect. This one as well. And just work our way around the model, selecting the edges that you want so you can achieve just a better definition of certain areas that you want. That's all we're looking for. Okie dokie, a little more. Coming up over here. All right, so I've selected everything that I want, and now we're going to bevel this piece of geometry. So let's do that. Control P and Shift once I find the relative area, tap to get out, and now it's defined. Okie dokie, the model is done. If you've managed to get here, nice job. And next what we're going to do is just add a couple hierarchy essentially. I'm not going to build a rig for this one, so I'm just going to animate geometry, and I'll show you how I go about that. I think the best thing to do is have this be the driver, this geo right here be the driver, and so let's do that. So this one I'm going to call it what is this, the hook, I guess, bolt 1, just so we know what the name is, bolt 2, button. Let's come on over here and let's go to our constraints properties, and I'm going to make it a child of, and I'm just going to eyedrop this one, same thing here, child of, and same thing with this one, child of, and it's all this one. So now when I move this, it moves everything. And I'm just going to animate this one out and in. Okie dokie. All right, so next for the button, what I want is it's going to be a child of the measuring tape, but I also want it to rotate not from the object center itself, but I want it to be from the cursor, which happens to be the middle of measuring tape and the world origin. So what we can do with that object selected, we can come up here to object, and we want to set origin to 3D cursor. So now it rotates from there. It's going to be a child of this guy. So what we're going to do is select that geo and come on over here, child of, eyedropper tool, and now everything, oh, we didn't do this part. So now go over here, last thing. This is now a child of that, child of. And you can see very quickly, we can come up with something, a rig system with no bones, and you can basically start animating quickly and start just thinking of ideas, brainstorming, and executing much faster this way. Awesome, so the last thing we'll notice is if I select this, bring it back, we see the tape. We got to fix that. So what we're going to do is go Shift A, create a cube, and we're going to scale it out a little bit. Move it back. And you know how far to move it back, just because it needs to, when it's all the way in, we don't want to see anything coming out the back. And so let me check it. This works. Perfect. So this is going to be our boolean, and it's going to be constrained to the measuring tape, and it's going to allow us not to see anything. So this is how we're going to set it up. Select the tape, go to our modifiers property over here, and we're going to add a boolean modifier. We're going to select this cube, and now you can see when I have this cube hidden and I move this back, no longer does the tape go out the back. But the problem is, if now I move this, you can see the tape shows itself. So last thing we're going to do is show our cube one more time and select it, go over here to our constraints properties and make it a child of this. And this cube, I'm going to hide it in the viewport and hide it from render. And now we are ready to animate. So very exciting. I like when it comes together pretty quickly, at least on the rigging side of things. Again, this is not an armature, and it allows us to move pretty quickly. So let's set up a ground plane, and then we're going to animate a simple little action shot. I'm just going to grab the measuring tape, bring it up, and I'm just going to put it on the ground plane. Shift A, and I'm going to do a plane, scale that up, make it like this. Perfect, there's our platform. Measuring tape's gonna be out a little bit. So that's why I'm giving a little more space over here. Cool, I like that. I'm gonna add a little bit of definition to this plane. Tab with 3 for the face, it's all selected. Hit E and just extrude down a little bit. Let's also just add, just for aesthetics, 2, I'm going to select these edges, bevel them. Let's apply all transforms, come back over here, Control B, and then the bevel works the way we expect it to. Add a couple more segments. Perfect. This platform is done. Let's add an HDRI lighting system. So we can come on over here to our rendering viewport area. Coming up here, let's go into cycles. Let's go to cycles. I'm just going to turn down the max samples to 16 maybe, really low, and even this one maybe just down to 64, very low. Perfect. And so now let's go into our shading, and I'm going to go over here. Instead of object, it's now the world. Perfect. And the world, so let's do this so we can see our object. And this world has a color, so we can actually affect the color or the background, which then affects the lighting. But we're going to add a texture here, so Shift A, and we're going to go to texture, and instead of an image texture, it's an environment texture. Apply that, open, and go to HDRI Haven and download some of their HDRIs. It's free, and it's the best place that I've seen for that content. Once you download it, navigate to where you have it, and I have a bunch here. And so download a number of them and see how it affects the lighting, and just hook it up. What I like about this is it just looks good. It's nice and simple, looks good. I also don't want to see the background texture. So what we can do is come to our render properties and go to film and just turn on transparent. Awesome, so it looks good. Perfect, we are ready to animate. And hopefully this animation is going to go pretty quick. If I go a little too fast for you, just rewind it and see what I'm doing. I'm going to go into the animation workspace now, set up the animation windows the way I like it. For the most part, it's all there. I'm just going to pull the time slider up, pull this up a little bit. I don't use the dope sheet. I just go right to the graph editor. Perfect. This window, let's go to, for now, just to our shading. But I turn off these. I don't need to be distracted. And this one, I'm going to turn them on there. Same thing, let's go to shader. And then the next thing we need is a camera. So let's go Shift A, and we're going to add a camera. 0 gets you in the camera. Hit N just to bring up your options here. Let's go to view. Camera to view is my favorite button here with the camera. I'm going to leave that off for now. Just going to make this window larger by zooming in. Then I'm going to go back and camera to view. And this allows me to actually frame within my camera. It's very powerful. What I also like to do is just select the geometry, frame for it. Now I'm going to think of a framing that allows me to best show my animation. You can always adjust the framing after if the animation changes beyond what you were thinking. But what I'm thinking is I'm going to have the measuring tape out by default. The button is going to be down, it's going to come up. Measuring tape is going to come back quickly, and that impact is going to make the measuring tape jump up, land, and settle. So first thing we got to do is just see how far this measuring tape can come out. Now that we have at least a starting point, is think of a framing that looks good. I'm using a 50 lens here in with the camera. By default it's 50. I might widen it out a little bit to 35. Perfect. For now we'll work with this and turn that off so I can't accidentally knock the camera. Perfect. Also, I'm going to go back here and add a little bit more distance for that measuring tape at the beginning. Let's also shorten our frame range. This test might only be something like 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. For now, I'll just say 48 frames, and let's select that geo. Now, it's interesting because Yeah, I wonder from this camera, we don't see that button. And that button, it's nice to know that the button goes up and that's why the tape goes this way. So I'm gonna change that camera. I just thought of that now, so maybe better on this side. And then yeah, maybe I do a small camera. What I liked about this framing is it's gonna be larger as it comes into the camera, and but we missed this crucial information here of the tape. So yeah, let's do that for now, and then maybe I do a camera move. Let's pick this framing. Let's select that geo. Frame 9, here we go. Let's just add a key. Let's do rotation, and then this button might be 6 frames. Comes up into that position, so I'm gonna go back to the beginning and just rotate it down. So it's holding its position, that's why the tape is out that far. Rotation, perfect. Let's select all with A in the graph editor and period to see everything. And then the tape measure, let's select this part. So we can see it in the camera view here. And around here, frame 13, I'll just key the location, and this really is gonna snap back very hard. Maybe 4 frames. Right to inside here. Select A in the graph editor and your period, numpad period. And so I'm gonna select these row keys, hit V and vector, which is linear. And let's see it play. So what I'm noticing already is I don't have enough time between things. There's a lot of information moving. So I'm gonna play with the timing a little bit. I'm gonna come back up here. And this is not just a normal tape measure. Let's give it a bit of light. Let's delete this one for now so it doesn't bother us. Come on over here. Here we go, rotation. I just inserted a key. I'm gonna pull it back here. And what I'm doing is essentially adding an ease in at the beginning more, and then a snappier. Hopefully that just draws your eye a little bit more. And then what we can actually do here is vector. It's just, it hits a little harder, bam. Still not fast enough. G, and let's insert a key right here. Rotation, and then X, and even pull this out more. What I'm doing is slowing the beginning down and making a snappier ending. Cool, it even has a small overshoot. Perfect, I like that better. So we want to be able to see that, and only when now it goes to the very top is that gonna kick in. And location, awesome. This one's gonna be vector, linear. I'm going to insert a row keys and pull this. V4 clamped. Cool. Let's see. Cool. I like that actually. Let's go now to our measuring tape, and right on the point of impact, right there, 19. Let's key location rotation. And let's be violent about how it reacts. So frame 19, it's gonna go up, and then maybe around frame 31, 12 frames later, it's gonna land. Location rotation, and let's have some fun here. So it's gonna go up, it's gonna push it back as well. It's gonna push it back, it's gonna land somewhere around here. It's gonna rotate something like this. I'm thinking it's gonna be pretty violent, and let's give it a little bit of a kilter. And things just aren't perfect, so something like that. Hit I, location rotation, perfect. A and period, and I'm going to select all and hit V for vector. So if I scrub here, bam, it hits there. It looks a little funky when I scrub, just because I have not added an in-between key that defines the arc, and it's also going to help with the timing. But the next thing I'm going to think about is the next contact point. So I had 12 frames. I'm only going to probably do 6. It's a pretty heavy little object. And just thinking about how it's moving, I'm already going to think about settling it down. Cool, let's give that a try. Hit A and V for vector to make it linear. I'm going to play that again. Let's go back over here. So now with that impact, I'm going to really pull this up. Oh. So let's see what that looks like. A little cartoony. Let's pull that down a little bit. Really, I don't like the way this is rotating, so I'm just going to redo that. I think it just needs to keep rotating over, maybe. I'm going to increase by 2 frames, and let's see if we can get it to rotate over some more. Oh, that'd be cool. If we can have it landing with the logo up. Let's see. Cool, let's give that a try. That looked better. Continuing the motion, I'm going to push it further back as well. Just push that further back a little bit. And then I'm also going to add an in-between pose just to define the arc a little bit. And then it can settle, maybe a little bit more rotation. And then it could settle into its position. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Vector. Let's add a few more frames here. Cool. At least I'm buying the idea that it's pushing it back. And then yes, I'm going to add a camera move so I can keep it in frame after. And let's go to our translate Z, hit Shift H, select A, and then I can just work on the arc a little better. And I felt like it needed a little bit more hang time, so I'm just making it sharper. The hang time is going to be longer up there, just by manipulating these things. Nice. Cool. Let's select the geo, hit Tab 1 for all the vertices, Alt Z just to see through everything, and let's pull that platform back a little more. Tab, perfect. So now let's get it completely flat. We just want it completely flat. And because the momentum kept pushing it back, it's just going to slide back a little bit more. I only see the translate Z, so what I can do is Alt H shows everything, A to select, period on the numpad. I'm just going to select that last row and hit V so it hits hard. Cool, let's test that out. So it's starting to work, and what I'm going to do is just work on the ending a little bit. It's a little soft, a little bouncy. I want to make it a little sharper. Then we'll add the camera move so we can keep it in frame. So let's work on the ending a little bit. And I think for the most part what I could do is just play with the timing. Tighten it up a little bit so it's just a bit snappier. So that's what I'm going to do now. It's coming in here. I'm just going to select all these keys, G, and I'm just going to move them in 2 frames there. This could also be snappier. This is 8 frames. Could probably make the ending there just be a little quicker. Delete this and just redo the arc. Cool. We can also make the last frame, just bring it in a little bit. It can hit pretty hard on the ground, and maybe I have just the smallest little settle after that as well. So here it hits the ground, it can move back a little, and it's going to have a small little bounce up here. And then back. Cool. So already the ending is a bit snappier and it's more realistic. Before the timing was spread out a little bit, so the animation was a bit too floaty. Perfect, let's add a small camera move so we don't lose half the object out of frame. Select the camera. With camera moves, you want to react to what you're filming. So I'm going to let the tape measure start moving, and then I'll react as the camera operator. But once it starts to go up, it's say frame 21, insert, location, rotation, let it finish. I'll come in and finish my move. Something like this. Select all, frame for it, and V for linear for vector. Let's play that. Cool, so I don't like that at all. Delete. And so the reason I don't like it is the camera's working too hard. So here's what we're gonna do. Barely add any translation, whereas before we added lots of translation. And pick up the slack just with pan. What that does is it keeps things less active. Cool. That is better. And now we're just gonna add a ease in and ease out on the camera move. I'm gonna insert here and then insert here. So those two keys, basically the distance here, that speed is gonna stay constant, and only this area is gonna be affected. I'm gonna pull it right to the end, V, flat tangents. And here actually what I can do is speed this up. I'm gonna pull it in now, change my mind. V, flat tangent. So the object is moving, the camera operator starts to react, eases in, and then finishes with the pan. Cool. So nice and simple. It's a little extreme on one side of the framing still, and I don't like that. I'm gonna select my rotate Z, hit Shift H, A to select all, and period numpad just to frame in. So what I'm gonna do is press G and go up. Cool. So let's render this out. We have over here, we have the render. We don't have a background yet, so let's just add a very simple background. Shift A, mesh, plane, scale it up, and we're just gonna place it back there, 90. Oh, that even looks cool with just the white background. Just gonna place it back there. Just scale it so it fits. Now we're gonna come down to our output settings, and let's pick a location. I'm just gonna call it test. And then, so here are the options that I use for creating the render. The FFmpeg video for encoding. Just go ahead and use QuickTime video codec. If you don't have H.264, that's the one I select there. Everything else stays the same. Awesome. And then the last thing we want to do is go to render and render our animation. And I can't remember how many frames we had here. I think we had 60 frames. So it shouldn't take too long. Let's see what one frame takes. We're at 10 seconds, 11 seconds. And I could have optimized this a little bit more. We're up to 16 seconds, 18 seconds. So it's actually taken quite a while. 18 seconds a frame. It took 23 seconds a frame. So I'll see you guys back here in just a little bit, and then we'll look at the final product. So there's the final. If you were able to follow along, build the model, add some textures, and then animate with me, congratulations. I think that's great. I hope you got a lot of value and learned something. And if you want to show me your tests, go ahead. I'd be happy to watch them. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.